When you ask anybody what their plans are for retirement, they almost always say the same thing. We want to travel, but there's a rider to this. They think they've got to be wealthy to achieve it. What if you could travel like you've always dreamed, but all it took to do so was to take budgeting seriously?
And if you screw that bit up, well, then your travels could be over well before you've planned.
Let's get into it.
For us, we just had to remember we weren't on vacation, didn't we?
Oh yeah, because when we used to vacation, money wasn't an object. We didn't think about such things. You know, we could take a helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon. No worry. No, actually, take a helicopter ride into the Grand Canyon and have a little glass of champagne. We didn't used to think about these kind of things. But when you're slow traveling, if you think that way, you're in some big trouble before you get started.
But long-term travel, either in retirement or at any other time, is different. And we quickly realised that actually the things that cost money didn't bring us joy anymore. And it was the things that didn't cost anything, like walking, hiking, that we really got pleasure out of.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I used to think for the first 40 years of my life that people that hiked and walked for fun were either old or boring. But now that I'm old...
And boring.
Can I have a word? Now that I'm old and enjoy walking, turns out I was probably right. But when we are out walking, we see young people out there enjoying it too. And I don't think all of them are boring. And the nice thing is, it doesn't cost a penny. In fact, I would say if the government said, if you want to go out walking and hiking, we're going to put a levy on that, it's going to cost you X a month, we'd probably pay it. We enjoy it that much.
And you know what? When we're out walking, whether that be with just two of us or with friends or new acquaintances, we actually have some of the best conversations ever.
And we get our best ideas. In fact, our idea to start a channel called To Go Roam happened out on a hike one day. Now, you might be looking at this going, well, obviously hiking's not a good idea if this is what they decided to do with their time. And I get that. But the point here is about budgeting. You need to be intimately aware of your financial position before you embark any form of long-term travel. Sarah and I, we are perpetual travelers. We sold everything we own a couple of years ago to travel the world full time. So you can imagine that we've got a fairly sizable budget that we're putting into our travels. And we're actually going to be talking about that in a lot more detail in a video in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, so if you want to hear more about that, why not think about subscribing? We've got some really good insights that we actually haven't heard anyone else talk about. So some of it's not all good.
Yeah, it's not all good.
So you need to be really clear what you want to spend on your travels so that you don't deplete that nest egg. But here's the tip that we use to make that happen and to give flexibility to really enjoy it.
So what is that tip? Now, this is where we get into the technical stuff. This isn't an airy-fairy video where we're going to give you some rough tips on how to budget. This is quite specific. You might even want to pull out a pen and paper for this, but there's a couple of numbers I want you to think about. I'm going to do most of the talking here, Sarah. This is all technical stuff. Technical numbers.
Technical finance, no.
So what I want you to think about is how much money you have that you're happy to throw into your travels. And secondly, how many months of a year you're planning to travel for. So you'll have two numbers. And let's give you a couple of really clear examples so you can see about two other couples that want to travel and how they work this out for themselves. And we're going to call these people Sharon and Jim. That's the first couple. Sharon and Jim, they've got a budget of $40,000 to travel. And they plan to travel, though, for 8 months a year. So what does that mean? That means they're going to stay home and, I don't know, see their grandkids and enjoy Christmas and all that kind of stuff at home. And then 8 months of the year, they're flying off. It might not be consecutive months. They might want to do 3 months, a couple of months at home, another 3, you know what I mean? But they want to be away for 8 months and they're willing to throw $40,000 at that. Turn that into whatever currency you want, wherever you come from. I said dollars, could be Australian dollars, could be Aussie dollars, could be other dollars. Then we got another couple.
That wouldn't last long, would it?
No, that wouldn't last you long in Singapore, Singaporean dollars. Then we got Jordan and Robert. They've got a budget of $48,000, but they want to travel for 12 months of the year. So you may be sitting there already calculating your numbers and calculating numbers I've just spoken about to tell you what the budget is, and you'd be wrong. And that's what this video is all about. You would listen to what I just said and say, Sharon and Jim, well, with the money they've got, they can have $5,000 a month to travel with. And Jordan and Robert, well, they got $4,000 because they're doing it over 12 months. This will be a mistake. And this is one of the challenges I have in the financial world, in fact, that I see that when people turn things into a financial equation, in doing so, they remove the flexibility and the ability to just be a bit rubbery with how you do stuff. In fact, we made a video on this, I think, a year ago, which was called something like Why the 4% Rule is Flawed. If you want to watch that, check it out after this. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And the same thing happens in travel budgeting as well. And it may well excite you to hear that you could probably do a lot more with the money that you've budgeted than you ever dreamed of. So let's get into that now. So if we look at our own travels, Sarah and I, in the last 12 months, we've been to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, but also we've been to Singapore, very expensive. Australia, we've been on a month-long cruise, we've been to Canada, we've been to America. So when you look at it...
And the UK.
And the UK. But if you look at it, our year looks like this. And that is when we're in Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, that's low cost, low cost, low cost. We're in Malaysia for 3 months. And Thailand for, I forget, but they're all low cost. And then we go to high cost, and that's places like Singapore. We spent a whole 2 days, I think,
3 days
in Singapore, but on a cruise for a month. And Australia and the US and Canada, they, I would say, are all high cost. So if you look at this, you can see, if you average out what you're looking at on screen now, that means we had a medium cost travel. And our budget, I would say, is very much a medium budget. So how does that relate to the people we just spoke about? And that is Sharon and Jim. Let's take them first of all. They got $40,000 and 8 months. Well, as I said before, that doesn't equate to $5,000 a month. What they might want to do is have a variety of experiences. And they've decided to spend their year like this. In the first 2 months, they're going to spend $4,000. That's a reasonable budget. You can go to a reasonably nice place with that. And then they drop it down to 3,000. They may be heading off to Southeast Asia or something like that. And then 4,000 again for a couple of months and going to, kind of medium cost locations, and then up to 6,000, and then 8,000, 7,000, maybe as they get closer to home.
That adds up right.
So do I. I'm pretty confident that adds up to 40,000. And then,
well, I'm glad you didn't give me this job.
Yeah, that's why I got all this written down, Sarah. Then we got Jordan and Robert. They got 48,000. And what they're going to do in their travel for 12 months, they're perpetual travellers like us. Well, you could say, well, that's $4,000. No, it's not $4,000 a month. What they're doing is they got 3 months doing what we did. They went to Australia maybe, or Canada or the US. They spent $6,000 a month for 3 months. And then they thought, that's a bit high. We need to drop that down. So they go 3,000 for a couple of months, then down to 2,000 for a couple of months. That one, they maybe hiked across a country, backpacking, staying in hostels and that kind of thing, because that, as I said earlier, can be a lot more fun than doing the expensive things in life. And then back up to 5,000 for a couple of months, 4,000, 3,000, and then 2,000, bringing it in at their budget of 48,000 for the year. So you can see, if you take your budget seriously and are willing to consider low cost of living locations in your travel, then you can do it. We all want to go to places like Paris and Japan and all that, but you've got to be realistic.
You want to be able to experience that properly. So by budgeting and then experiencing lower cost countries.
And that's why we say you can have it all. To have it all isn't to say, oh, well, we only go to the very best places, because the very best places aren't all. It's not all of it. You've got the lower cost places as well. So if you want to go to Japan, you can work your finances so you can go to Japan. But also, you may want to consider going to Laos or Vietnam or Thailand or Mexico or down to South America. And that is then giving you the chance to have it all.
We'd be really interested to know what budget saving tips you've got for travelling, so let us know in the comments below. And you might well be sitting there thinking, well, I haven't got that sort of money that Neil's talking about.
Yeah, but you know what? We've got you covered, and that's why you need to watch our next video that's going to be coming out a week from today. And when it is out, you'll see it down, I think here. We're going to put it down here. We have got some money saving tips there where you today are looking going, I haven't got the budget, I haven't got that. Got you covered. You watch that. We are literally going to save you thousands. You've been watching To Go Rome. Really hope you've enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.